Today, the T-Rex is going up against the PALAEOLOXODON, one of the most feared land creatures to ever exist. The T-Rex versus one of the most monstrous elephants to ever exist. Who's gonna win? Almost forgot my freaking Gojicenter sweatshirt, which you gotta wear when watching Gojicenter. All right.
Today, the ground will tremble as we bring two heavyweights to duke it out in a fight to the death. On one end, the most terrifying and powerful land predator of all time, the ultra heavyweight of all carnivores, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. On the other end, a herbivorous titan whose strength, intelligence, and temperamental attitude made it one of the most dangerous land animals in history, the PALAEOLOXODON.
Okay, before we start, we gotta choose a winner. Who do you think? The obvious choice would be the T-Rex, which means this thing's got some crazy abilities we don't yet know much about. Honestly, it's freaking size, it's straight. I'm just gonna go with this guy. The PALAEOLOXODON clearly has some freaking tricks up his sleeve, otherwise it wouldn't be here today. Only a fool would choose the obvious choice.
These two monsters' abilities will be put to the test, comparing each other's strength.
It's so much bigger than a T-Rex, dude.
To determine who will win in a confrontation.
It's
who
gymongous.
will live and who will perish. This is reptile versus mammal, tooth versus tusk. Who will win? Find out at the end on Gojicenter's Monster Face-Off.
Tooth versus tusk, that's crazy.
Number 1, mass.
Ooh.
In this battle of heavyweights, the contestant that wins this edge will prove to be the one who is not only heavier, but also the one who is able to manage its weight via mass distribution.
I feel like the elephant's gotta get mass. It's a freaking elephant.
And weight of both of these extinct animals, we need to note that these have two maximum sizes. One is the maximum and likely size, and the second being the largest speculative size.
Ooh.
In the present day world, we witness some animals that are abnormally larger or smaller than their average proportions. The same most definitely occurred with extinct creatures like the T-Rex. With this in mind, we'll release a full-grown, robust adult T-Rex that aligns with the current known metrics instead of a speculative,
that thing is so beautiful,
specimen.
Dude. Look at the
Fortunately,
detail.
this is the best studied dinosaur of all time. So sticking with average metrics will give us more accurate stats when it comes to covering things like speed, agility, bite force, etc. Giving us a T-Rex with a height of 4 meters on
Look
a
how
neutral
beautifully
stance,
detailed. That's gonna be the most
on a
realistic looking
stance,
T-Rex
and
I've ever
around
seen.
13 meters in length. This muscular T-Rex will come in at 10,400 kilograms,
What a
more
fatty.
than 11 tons. After the dinosaurs, there weren't that many creatures that could surpass the mass of the bigger non-sauropod dinosaurs, except for two groups, the hornless rhinos and the proboscideans.
Look at those
producing
monsters.
creatures that surpass 16 tons, with the PALAEOLOXODON filling the top rank of the latter group. The exact size of this animal is still a huge debated topic. For this reason, we'll send over the largest plausible and supported size for the paleo, not the largest speculative. To figure this out, we can rely on femur size, which
I'm so overwhelmed with scientific knowledge right now. I needed a second to catch my brain. Okay, I'm good.
is the best indicator to tell us how big these guys could grow. These could vary in size, ranging from a 1.5 meter one to a 1.7 meter long one to a strange anomaly measuring 2 whole meters.
That's a giant
Since we
femur
used
bone,
an
dude.
average-sized Rex, it's only fair to also use an average supported size for the paleo. This rounds down the mass of this animal to 18 to 20,000 kilograms.
I think it's gonna
instead of
flatten the
speculative
T-Rex, dude, for
25,000
sure.
kilograms.
20,000?
This metric was also supported by Dr. Laramendi, who also gave the paleo the weight of 22 tons.
Okay, but Dr. Laramendi looks like he can't bench press 315, so should we really be listening to a scientific analysis?
In terms of height, we have a paleo that measures a whopping 5 meters in height. Lengthwise, we can see this in 2 ways, with tusks and tail extended or without them. Without them, the paleo measures 7.25 meters.
Beautiful.
But if we add the tusks, which, by the way, are considered the largest teeth in the animal kingdom, the paleo could reach 11
Teeth
meters
counting
in
as
total
tusks is
length,
so silly to me. They
rivaling
shouldn't
the
count.
entire body length of the T-Rex. So,
T-Rex is
who wins
done.
the edge here?
Done.
Now we must consider body types. One is an elongated biped with moderate mass but at a deficit for height and stability. The other is taller and wider but at the cost of being heavier. However, the Paleo's weight is distributed on 4 points of contact with the ground.
That's
not
true,
only
he's got
making it
freaking
more
four-wheel
difficult to
drive.
topple over, but also distributing the weight more evenly as it makes contact with the ground. But also, since this is a battle of heavyweights, having more weight behind any attacking blow will prove critical, increasing the likelihood of toppling over the opponent, which is the case for the Paleo.
There's
For
no
this
way
reason,
the
and for
T-Rex
having a
is
greater
getting
amount
toppled.
of
There's
mass,
no
the
way.
Paleo takes the first edge in overall mass.
Well, yeah. It's
Number
humongous.
2, armor.
Oh, the Paleo's got this also.
The creature that wins this edge will
For sure.
outperform the opponent in the following metric, whose skin and corporal build can soak up or repel the damage inflicted by the opponent.
Well, now I don't know.
Upon first glance, these two don't necessarily have anything covering them that we would immediately identify as armor. But there is more than meets the eye here. Both of these animals did live in
Transformers?
hot climates, meaning that there was no real reason to be mostly covered by feathers or fur in the Paleo's case. The skin of both of these animals did allow for heat regulation. The skin of the T-Rex is currently a topic of debate, especially since this animal came from the chiefly feathered Coelurosaur family. But being the largest tyrannosaurid living in hot Northern American climates is evidence that this animal was most likely lacking a feathered coverage as an adult, meaning that the Rex won't rely on any padded protection in this fight, leaving that task
That makes
to the
sense. I feel like if
scaly
T-Rex
skin.
had feathers, it'd be
This
just
took
a
the form
little
of
bit,
tiny,
you know?
non-overlapping scales similar to that of cassowaries and lacking the bony element present in modern-day monitor lizards, whose hide acts more or less like chainmail.
Trippy.
Despite this, the T-Rex did have one bit of armor that was hidden from plain sight. Underneath, we find a breastplate of sorts known as a gastralia, a set of ribs covering this underlying region, helping it take impacts to the stomach. Very useful since the T-Rex's
I didn't even know they
small
had
arms
those.
wouldn't be of much help in the event that
Trippy.
the
They
Rex
got
trips
boob-
over.
boob armor.
The Paleo stomps into the analysis platform with an interesting type of hide. The Paleo did live during the last ice age in the Indian South Asian regions, meaning that temperatures back then were a lot cooler in that region. Despite
Some
this,
cool
it is
cats.
believed that this animal's large size helped insulate it enough for it to not need the shaggy coats of fur and blubber seen in woolly and steppe mammoths.
Blubber?
This
I
does
hardly know
not
her.
mean that its skin was thin. On the contrary, even present-day elephants have tough, elastic, and flexible hides, making it most difficult to pierce.
They do. They look
Scaling
like
up to the
giant
skin of the
testicle
Paleo
dragons.
only proves as evidence that this skin would serve as a shock absorber of sorts for any traumatic bites, heavily mitigating the damage of massive bite forces. This thickness of skin would vary by region. The flanks, limbs, and neck would have around 3.5 inches of epidermis, dermis, and fat. Doesn't sound like much, but remember, these are folding layers of flexible skin covering really dense
Gross.
musculature. This skin also serves another purpose, venting out excess heat. Stored water in these wrinkles would absorb the heat and leave the body via evaporation.
That's
Not
wild,
only
dude.
serving
Evolution
as
is
armor,
insane.
but also heat expulsion. So, who has better armor? Note that we are dealing with different types of weapons.
I think it's gotta be the elephant. It's gotta be the elephant.
In the T-Rex's case, its thinner skin wouldn't really provide much protection against a puncture wound from a 3-meter tusk. Even with the gastralia, an impact from the tusks would completely miss this plate of armor. In contrast, the Paleo skin and the dense musculature underneath would aid in absorbing a bite. Sure, the teeth will pierce, but not without the skin bending and absorbing some of the
they're
damaging
just gonna get a
force.
mouthful of
This
wrinkly
one
old
is
lady
close.
skin.
But because an injury from a tusk is harder to repel with the Rex's skin, the Paleo once again takes an edge when it comes to armor.
It just seems like the Paleo's gonna win
Number
almost
3,
most
agility.
things. Well, the
Right
T-Rex
now,
can
we're
win
about
this
to
one.
grant
It's a
the
freaking
critical
elephant.
edge to the animal that maneuvers best around the battlefield whilst conserving energy. The biggest difference between the combatants is that one is a bipedal with wide feet and the other is a quadruped with column-like
I feel like the elephant has better
Both
turning,
are
though,
pretty
right?
effective when it comes to rotation, but the physics vary quite a bit. The T-Rex has the advantage of being part of a lineage that was more agile than most other predatory dinosaurs. Its ancestors were adapted for maneuvering through dense terrain and spending time on trees thanks to a unique hip design that other big theropods did not have. The ilia allowed this 13-meter-long animal to change its direction directions alarmingly fast.
Well,
that is with
damn.
wider turns, but given that these wide turns allow it to conserve energy, there was almost no need for the T-Rex to wind up speed to continue going as fast. Additionally, its wider feet and long tail would aid it in keeping optimal balance, preventing it from toppling over while making abrupt turns. The Paleo, as
I didn't
well
think
as
about the
modern-day
tail. The tail
elephants,
changes
had
everything.
relatively long legs for animals of their mass. This, along with a higher center of gravity. They were also very wide, meaning that toppling this guy over would prove more difficult. But would this guy turn faster than a T-Rex? Being wide with a relatively short body length means that their body mass is jumbled up into a small area, meaning that this animal could quickly turn around using its heavy head as a way to quickly gain momentum to turn 180 degrees. This maneuver is seen in elephants today as well, making the Paleo really difficult to flank if it's standing still. Also, elephants have the ability to open their frontal legs wide, aiding them in stopping and turning relatively quick for an animal of their size, ironically making this animal better at pursuit if it needs to chase down another opponent. Despite this, the fact that the T-Rex can still conserve momentum while making alarmingly quick turns shows that the bipedal system in this case is better and more energy efficient than the quadrupedal when it comes to agility, giving the Rex its first edge in a locomotive category.
I feel like it wins this for sure, but like barely. Well, I guess they showed it barely win it. Well, that's accurate. I just don't see how the T-Rex is gonna win this one.
Will the Rex tally another edge in directional movement? Number 4, speed.
Ooh.
Or how fast can the combatants move around the battlefield?
I don't know, I've heard so many things about T-Rexes.
Be one of the most difficult ones to determine in this fight, given that both of these animals aren't alive today.
I heard T-Rexes had, like, if they sprint, their knees buckle in, like they can't support their body weight, but then people also say that's not. There's so many theories.
And we're limited to highly fluctuating studies. So we'll stick to the fundamentals for this one. Bipedal and quadrupedal body types have very different ways to push their weight along the x-axis. Bipeds typically use less energy to move from point A to point B thanks to their proportionally larger muscle mass on their legs, but at the cost of needing to pay more attention to balance. Quadrupeds in some cases are faster because they have more limbs pushing their weight off the ground. But is this the case with these two animals?
That's true, the fastest animals on Earth are quadrupeds.
Suggested that the top speed of the T-Rex would hit around 17 miles per hour.
It's not very fast.
Reaching a top speed in a fight is only viable in the event that you're 100% certain that you'll culminate a sprint with an effective hit or running away during a retreat. A T-Rex maintaining speeds of 17 miles per hour during a fight makes no sense, since maintaining this would overtax its energy reserves. Both the Paleo and Rex couldn't perform a running gait, but rather do what's called a fast walk, keeping at least one foot on the ground at all times. Believe it or not, modern-day African elephants have been clocked at the alarming speeds of 25 miles per hour.
See, that makes sense. They're humongous.
Speeds are attained by efficient movements on their hind limbs and shock-absorbing pads on their feet. But can our Paleo reach these speeds? Most likely not. The rule here is that the larger the elephant, the slower it gets.
I guess that's fair.
Our 22-ton animal is actually more related to the modern-day African elephant, who, by the way, have proportionally longer legs compared to their body. Also, it's been noted that smaller elephants are indeed faster than their adult counterparts. So, comparatively, it's reasonable to presume that these African counterparts were much faster than PALAEOLOXODON, who would most likely max out at a little over 10 miles per hour.
See, I feel like we get into like the Godzilla argument. Like Godzilla doesn't move fast, he doesn't move it, but he's so big that he travels like 100 miles an hour. You know what I mean? Like I feel like size, 10 miles, I could run faster than this freaking elephant.
Lastly, it's important to account that energy consumption is less for a biped than for a quadruped, meaning that in this case, not only will the T-Rex move faster, but also be able to maintain a speed for a longer time. For this locomotive category, the edge will go to the
this
T-Rex.
one just felt completely racist.
Number 5, stamina.
All
Before
right.
we find out who wins the census and
got stamina, for sure.
Let's figure out who could carry out the battle for the longest time if it turns out to be a longer battle than expected. Heat stress is the ultimate enemy of large animals because they struggle more when it comes to getting rid of heat compared to smaller animals. Combine this with warm-blooded metabolisms and we're talking about dangerous levels of heat stress, fatigue, and even organ damage. Fortunately for the Rex, its body, as well as that of other theropods, are optimally made for high-energy efficient locomotion. The majority of its locomotive muscles were focused on the T-Rex's legs, like the caudofemoralis muscle, connecting the upper leg and tail, providing more momentum with each stride. This helps conserve energy while keeping a brisk pace. Additionally, these animals would have internal air chambers found in birds, pumping air through the muscles, organs, and blood, venting off heat with each breath.
That's insane.
This adaptation is the chief reason why ostriches can run for prolonged periods, in contrast to quadrupedal mammals who have to stop and rest, lest they risk heat stroke and muscle damage. Speaking of which, the paleo does bypass some of these issues thanks to some neat adaptations mentioned earlier. The skin, which gets rid of heat much more efficiently. Additionally, elephants have connective tissues directly linking their lungs to their diaphragm, helping them open and close the lungs with more force, venting off the heat.
That's what they look like on the inside?
But which one of these two can keep the fight going longer? The difference in this case is found in the mass. Even though these animals have around the same surface area, we find that the musculature of the paleo is a lot more dense, making it more difficult for it to expel heat as fast as the T-Rex. Furthermore, quadrupeds do reach heat exhaustion faster because they require more energy to move around, putting the T-Rex ahead with a third edge in stamina.
Okay, let's just calm down and think about this for a second.
Number 6, senses.
Oh God.
We're quickly going to determine who can sense the opponent first, gauging the likelihood of an ambush during the fight,
sense it
and
better
being
for
aware
sure.
of each other's
Oh crap.
whereabouts during combat.
Oh
we'll
God.
focus on 3, vision, hearing, and smell.
The T-Rex is gonna win all of those.
There are very few animals that can surpass the Rex when it comes to vision. Its forward-facing eyes granted a very wide binocular field of vision, better than most predatory birds alive today, meaning the Rex could identify objects much further than humans can. This, along with its flexible neck, will allow the Rex to lock onto the paleo much easier.
That whole Jurassic Park crap, hold still and it won't see you. Those lies, dude. These things have like crazy vision.
The paleo's vision, on the other hand, does not grant it the same binocular vision the T-Rex possesses.
Elephants have horrible eyes.
Its head shape causes it to have a thin blind spot directly in front of its face. This can be easily fixed with a gentle head swivel. Elephants do have above average vision in comparison to other mammals, good enough to accurately pinpoint the location of opponents on a 3-dimensional plane, and hurling objects towards these targets with surprisingly good accuracy. They only have issues with seeing things past 50 meters, but what makes the paleo's vision special is that they do have extremely wide monocular vision, almost being able to practically see behind itself.
That is pretty crazy.
The paleo does not only have excellent hearing ability thanks to its ears, but also is able to hear with its feet. That's right. Modern-day elephants, as well as the paleo, would have had the ability to pick up extremely low-frequency sounds, stuff that humans will not even be aware of. In this scenario, the paleo will be able to pick up on the low-frequency sounds emitted by the enlarged vocal cords emitted by the T-Rex, making the elephant aware of the T-Rex's presence miles away. T-Rex could do the same, but with a specialized organ known as a cochlea, which in the T-Rex's case was longer than usual, allowing it to pick up similar frequencies as the paleo.
Bro, I didn't know either of these animals have body parts that enable them to pick up low frequencies. What the hell?
In terms of smell, it's important to note that T-Rexes have a large majority of their brain devoted to the sense of smell. Being able to pick up small particles in the air from various animals and other organic materials and distinguish them with astonishing accuracy.
That is insane.
But the paleo is also not too far behind. It's been noted that elephants have a better sense of smell than most other land-dwelling animals alive today. Even better than most dogs.
That's
thanks
crazy.
to the largest olfactory bulb of any land mammal, able to pick things up from 12 miles away. So, who wins here? Both the Paleo and Rex have close to perfect hearing and sense of smell.
What?
But when it comes to close range vision during the midst of combat, the Rex proves superior. This one was really close, but for combat purposes, the T-Rex takes a fourth edge in senses.
I'm getting really worried for my decision right now.
Number 7,
well, the elephant's gotta be smarter.
Before we take a look at their weapons, we'll take a look at the brain power behind the wielding of this weaponry. Admittedly, both of these creatures will be able to outdo each other in some regards, such as discerning information attained through their senses, communication between their own kin, or reacting to things that the other may not pick up on, such as smell or sound. The edge in this category will be given to the one with better problem-solving capability in this specific scenario.
It's crazy we can know either of these creatures' problem-solving capabilities.
The T-Rex, as far as theropods go, was likely one of the smartest. This thanks to plenty of evidence that suggests that they were social animals that lived in long-term family units and collaborated during hunting.
Dude,
so
T-Rex families?
There is more evidence proving that T-Rexes were social hunters than what we have of raptors. Many studies have—
Whoa. So we think raptors hunt in giant packs because of some evidence? We always think T-Rexes hunt solo. Apparently T-Rexes hunted in packs? That's crazy.
Claimed that the brain of the T-Rex was as capable as that of primates. What was really found was that T-Rex had a similar neuron count to that as baboons. Neuron count can correlate with how quickly information is transmitted within the brain, thus helping us roughly understand how fast the T-Rex could solve problems.
It's insane to me we could count a T-Rex's neurons, dude.
Earlier we discussed that the Rex had exceptional eyesight, smell, and hearing. It's only reasonable for an animal with such capabilities to process information effectively and with purpose, aiding the Rex with decision-making, identifying the weaknesses and strengths of an opposing animal, and determining how to attack an animal given its weaponry. This can be compiled into something known as strategy. Animals today, such as predatory birds and other mammalian predators, use this exact method to bring down large prey and go as far as storing past experiences in their memory. The Paleos, as well as modern-day elephants' problem-solving skills, are their most impressive skill set in regards to battle intelligence. Bringing in the largest brain of any land animal in existence, this animal is no pushover. On the contrary, there have been many accounts of the elephant's frightening levels of intelligence, laying bare the fact that they're not only thinkers, but also solvers.
Yeah, don't freaking elephants never forget anything? That's like what they say.
At the level of dolphins and smarter primates. Also, going as far as constantly displaying concrete evidence of social interaction, emotion, exploration, and advanced memory, almost equally matching that of chimpanzees.
I don't care what T-Rexes do. T-Rex is never gonna paint a photo of a T-Rex, okay? I feel like elephants win this one.
Elephants are also one of the very few species who have passed a mirror test, capable of recognizing themselves individually and even using the mirror to scrutinize their own facial features.
Bro, they have
even
sentience.
Some other species of primates, birds, and other predatory mammals would fail and perceive the mirror as another individual, despite making identical movements. Elephants, when confronted with an unfamiliar element, will in most cases become observant, analyzing the unfamiliar element from top to bottom, identifying things like pointy objects, size, and classifying them as a threat or other. This is done remarkably fast as well. Consider that the elephant's cortical neuron count is believed to be 5.6 billion neurons.
How do they figure this out?
To the T-Rex's speculated 3.3.
3.3, what a moron!
In this battle scenario, the Paleo would have likely shared the same attributes as modern-day elephants. This, once again, is very close, but in this battle category, we find that elephant big brains and fast discernment will win it an edge when it comes to battle intelligence.
Honestly, this is a freaking conquest between the two most intelligent species right here, as far as I can tell.
Now, let's cover these animals' weapons.
Oh, man. All right, we're gonna end this here. We're gonna come back and do a part 2, because I am starving to death right now. I haven't eaten in like 8 hours. I don't know why I started this without eating. It was kind of stupid. This video is freaking awesome, though, and I can't wait to come back and see who the hell wins, because honestly, I voted for the elephant, but now I just don't know. I feel like I made a foolish choice. Subscribe to Gojicenter, leave a like, and I'll see you in part 2.